Welcome to News Cafe. I'm Mitzi Borromeo. Tonight we go to the opera as we talk to some of the people behind Noli, the opera, which is being produced here for the first time after 27 years with a full orchestra. The production is fresh from a successful two-night staging at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. last August, where it was well received by critics and audiences. Now, Philippine audiences have the chance to experience the beauty and splendor of Jose Rizal's 19th century novel as a grand opera production. We started the show with some of the brains behind the production. We have philanthropist Loida Nicholas Lewis, Jerry Siebel, executive producer and set and costume designer, and Edwin Josue, assistant executive producer. And later on, we'll be talking to some of the cast members. Good evening. Thank you for being on News Cafe.
Thank you, Mitzi.
Thank you for inviting us.
It's a very exciting time. Now, please tell me how this all came to be. Loida, you actually saw the play in Chicago.
Yes, around 2 years ago, which is the 100th anniversary of the birth of Felipe de Leon. Right. The KGB Productions started the opera in Chicago. I knew nothing about opera of Noli. And so when I arrived, they asked me to help a little bit. So when I arrived and saw the film, the opera sang in Filipino, in Tagalog, tama sa puso. And so I said, wow, this is beautiful. I should bring it to New York. Because I always tell everybody, if it didn't happen in New York, it didn't happen. And that's how it happened that I brought it to New York.
Yeah, and why did you involve, how did you get Jerry and Edwin involved?
You know, ignorance is bliss. I have never done any production of an opera, much theater. And so when I was explaining it, I invited them to the finance committee because I need help, you know, so that we can have a broad support of financing from the Filipino community. Jerry and Edwin are friends of long standing. And so when he started, especially Jerry, when he started listening to what I intend to do, that due to friends, Michael Dadap and others, saying, don't bring in Chicago. Why don't we start from scratch? And Jerry was saying, no. I don't think Mrs. Lewis knows what she's doing. And so he jumped in, and I am so glad he did. Yeah. Because without him, it would not have happened.
Well, Jerry, you're quite a prestigious events planner and flower. You do a lot of, you work with clients like Vanderbilt and, you know.
Sir Richard Branson.
Right.
Yeah.
So what was it like for you to have to, you know, start from scratch to do a production such as this opera?
It's very difficult because in a way, like, this is a national treasure. It's a national material. I cannot play with it. And it's too risky. It's too risky for me, especially, you know, I have to know the materials, I have to study everything. And I was telling Mrs. Lewis, you don't have time, you know. You have the money, but kalaban mo dito oras, time, you know. Let's just postpone it. But she was so stubborn, no, I have to do it, you know.
That's what she's saying because she didn't know the nuances of production. You knew it.
Yes, I knew it because when I asked the production team, I said, when did you start planning? He said, 6 months ago. What have you done? Nobody could answer me.
That's why 4 days before you wanted to cancel.
Yeah, I said, stop the conversation, stop. So I have to pull her on the side and say, you know, as a friend, as a good friend, I don't want you to get hurt, you know. I said, please cancel it, you know. Yeah. But she was very persistent. I said no, you know, and that's why I learned that's Mrs. Lewis. Yeah. She doesn't say no.
Takes risks and really takes it all the way.
Especially if she believes in something.
Yeah.
You know, and I just me and Edwin, I said, okay, let's just help. Yeah. You know, and we'll pour our time and effort, and you know, the rest was just a surprise for us. We never thought it's going to be successful.
Yeah. Well, Edwin, you're actually from the real estate business. How did you get involved in this?
Well, because Jerry is a partner, and then Miss Louise is a very good friend and client. She was my mentor in real estate. So how could you not say no to her when she asked for help? So we actually help her out. And here we are, the three musketeers we call ourselves.
Crazy.
The three crazy musketeers.
Yeah, crazy.
It takes a little bit of madness to put something like this together, right?
And guts.
Yes, and a lot of fun. So a big challenge in this was getting funds together, right? So for the New York production, what was it like? I mean, you worked with a group there.
Yes, it's a foundation of Filipino artists with Aida Bartolome, because when people give to art and culture, they would want, you know, a tax deduction. And Aida Bartolome was celebrating 25 years of presenting artists, Filipino artists, and she became the sponsoring organization. So that's the first one.
Yeah.
But the nitty-gritty of doing the production was done by Jerry and Edwin.
Yeah. Now, what were the challenges in putting all the costumes together, the sets?
Yeah.
For you,
Yeah.
I mean, and in New York, of
Yeah,
course,
in New York,
you know.
I did my set design and execution for only like 2 months, and my costume is only one month.
Yeah.
You know, but here I think it is even more challenging for me. But I was able to do it in 5 weeks, 5 days,
5 days,
not 5
wasn't
weeks,
it?
5
Yeah.
days. You know,
Yeah.
and it was okay.
Yeah, you survived.
I
to tell the
survived. I
story.
survived.
Yeah.
I'm still working on it. You know, do a lot of beadings and embroidery. You know.
Well, we'll get to the Manila production, but before that, after New York, you were invited to go to Washington, D.C., so you had a fellow Bicolana who fell in love with the opera in New York.
Well, actually, she is married to an American who loves opera. And in fact, that's how he courted her. He invited her to La Traviata.
Yes.
Oh.
And you know, being Bicolana, you know, just like me, what's that? What's opera? So she did homework. And so they've been coming to New York to watch the opera at the Met. And so when they came and saw this Noli Me Tangere in New York, he knew that it was first class.
Yeah.
You know, costume and things like that. So he was able to convince his wife, we'll take care of this.
Yeah.
And so gladly, all right, it's yours now. And that's what they did last month.
Sold
no,
out.
early this month.
Just early in August, that's right.
Early
last August.
And they didn't want any small theater.
Yeah.
Kennedy
Kennedy's,
Performing
yeah.
Arts.
And you got rave reviews, and I'd like to read something that the top broadsheet Washington Post wrote there. Basically, they said that the opera flowed with passages reminiscent of Mozart, Rossini, Puccini, and Wagner under conductor Benjamin Diaz-Baton. And they, of course, lauded the cast. The cast performed proudly and conveyed a love for libretto and music. So how did you feel, I mean, being there? Of course, it's not just Philams, but also Americans who were there.
Yeah. I felt relieved.
Yeah. You did it.
Relieved. I did it. We did it. Not only me. It's more of the whole family. We call it Noli family. Because the wonderful thing that happened in this Noli Me Tangere is like we were able to combine all the best of the best in the talents.
Yeah.
But the beautiful thing that happened is the relationship, you know. And just like what you've seen this afternoon, they talk about the relationship among artists. You know, that's the beautiful thing that we created, and we're so proud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about in terms of getting the director, the cast? It's also, of course, there are some really good talents in the U.S. How did you get the team together to find the right
we
people?
had an audition also, and then from audition we keep on asking, and people heard about it. So the audition, and I interviewed directors. She's from the Met, you know, and she's Japanese. You know, amazingly, she did a wonderful job for 3 months. She was able to study the libretto, and she read the book, and very knowledgeable, and knew how to treat the story.
Yeah.
And she did a great job. I would say, yeah.
Edwin, I like that story you had of, you were talking about the orchestra, because you have a 30-piece orchestra, and was it in D.C. or New York?
Yeah,
where
actually
the
I
harpist...
befriended this harpist, you know, she's an American, and they were in the orchestra pit, and she told me, Edwin, every time we have a show, because being in the orchestra pit, the audiences, be up on their deck, you know, they could hear all the clutching of the bags, not listening to the opera, but mind you, she said, you know, all the people were just, you know, listening intently, and, you know, something like, you know, they could just not miss the opera.
They were riveted, no?
They were riveted, and, you know. And
first time they'd seen that, and
the first time they've seen that, they said, this is a beautiful music that we're playing from a Filipino production, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm very, very happy and very, very proud to be Filipino, you know.
Yeah, of course. And what made you decide, of course, it's only natural that the Philippines should see it, but how did you come about bringing it to Manila?
Well, actually, there were, I was challenged by NCCA, National Commission on Culture and Arts, when I came a year ago to ask for help so that the video that we took of New York could be done into a CD or DVD to be, distributed to the schools here in the Philippines. They told me, what? You know, this is a New York production. We have nothing to do with, we help those who are here. All right. So bring it here.
Only Lloyd and Nicholas Lewis can do that.
Well, that's one. And secondly, the Philippines have now moved up in this world. We are no longer the poor man of Asia. Under President Aquino, we are now the new tiger in Asia. We are now investment grade, okay? And that's never before in the 106 history of the Philippines did we get to investment grade, meaning to say we are a good country to invest in. And lastly, we are also beating China every quarter, not every quarter, but many, that our GDP is higher than China.
Yeah.
Okay, so what better time for opera, a high form of art, by Filipinos, for Filipinos, to be presented here in Manila, in the Philippines. So those are the two reasons we brought it here.
Right.
Aside from, you know, it's really Jerry and Edwin, because, you know, I said, I have done and underwrote New York, okay? So Manila will be your responsibility, okay, but I will help. Okay, so it's really, you know, but really, we are the three crazy musketeers.
Yes, and I like what you said, being immigrants here, so you really feel this sense of home and you want to bring it back to your country.
Yeah.
So maybe it takes, you know, a person to be pulled out of their home and their comfort zone to really appreciate
and giving back to the country.
Yeah.
Yes, actually, it's the song of Maria Clara, Kang Tamis ng Buhay, na sa sariling bayan. Okay? So we felt that's for us.
Yeah.
Filipinos who left, who lived abroad, you know, and has that longing to come back here.
Yeah.
We can't because our life now is in abroad, but we can bring Noli Me Tangere here.
Right. Well, we'll take a quick break, but when we return, we'll talk about opera in the Philippines and what it takes to make it relevant to audiences today. Being a 19th century novel, how to make it relevant today?
Well, first of all, I didn't have to try really very hard. One, the theater alone is already very different. It's a theater on the wide. That is very rare, especially for opera. Opera is done theater on the narrow. Because it's a wide theater, it's not acoustic, meaning natural sound cannot be heard in every single corner. It has to be dealt with electronically, which is almost against the very nature of opera. Opera was created because the voice had to reach a certain style in order to be heard across the great distances.
How would you say this is different from everything else you've done from your other productions? What makes it stand out, or what makes it very different?
Well, for one, is the nature of the material. It's very seldom one gets to tackle something that is historically important and vital, especially in this case, to our nation. This one is significant to us, to the Filipinos. That in itself was a great challenge. And it was a factor that had to be taken into consideration because you're dealing with such crucial material, such important material that how does it affect you as a Filipino? You know, it didn't just affect me as a director, it affected me firstly as a Filipino. Maybe we forced Noli Me Tangere too early.
School.
What does it mean to a high schooler?
Yeah.
I understand why so many people, including myself, do not remember the book. But to a Filipino today, who's been through at least one revolution already, at least 3 presidents, 4, maybe 5, in my case 6, iba na ang kwento.
Yeah.
The words mean something different.